Hi, my name is Micah Barty, and I'm your host of Be Well and Exhale podcast. On this podcast, we'll discuss lifestyle topics, entrepreneurship, and of course, wellness. Each episode will feature impactful guests who will share their experiences in pursuit of success and wellness. So, get ready to be well and exhale with me. You can find us everywhere podcasts are available. Hi, Be Well Besties. Welcome to Season 2 of Be Well and Exhale, Episode 1, where we talk about the power of grace with my life coach, Janelle Marie, owner of Patchwork Queen.
Hello, hello, hello.
So I will have this phenomenal woman introduce herself. Go ahead. Don't leave anything out.
Okay. My name is Janelle Marie, and I am the owner of Patchwork Queen. And Patchwork Queen is a multi-industry business where all the things converge. Patchwork Queen is a company where we creatively partner with individuals who are really seeking to get to the next step in life. And I do that as a life coach. As an accessory designer, I help people by creating these one-of-a-kind items that make them feel absolutely amazing and they're never repeated. So my goal in this company is to enhance all humans from the inside out.
I love that.
Thank
See,
you.
I honestly didn't even know about Patchwork Queen. I just saw, okay, life coach, and this is all she does. Clearly, you do so much more, and I love that. So, before we kind of get into the subject or the topic, what made you even get into this space?
For the business entirety or just the life coach portion?
Both.
Okay. So I was a teacher for over 2 decades.
Okay. What, like grade level or?
Like elementary school, middle school, and I was a high school dean.
Okay.
So kids and people that have hard heads, or don't want to follow instructions or things like that, or also most importantly, don't see their greatness. I was always put in schools where children didn't get the attention that they needed, or teachers didn't have the patience or whatever, or they just didn't have the support that they needed. And so despite them fighting all the time or whatever they were doing, or even just not speaking up in class, I always saw the greatness in them. And so in 2021, I was introduced to a company called the Catalyst Academy. And so that company, by Coach Kami, I went and became a student and learned about life coaching. And that was actually the pivotal moment where I recognized the power that I had to make the change in my mind. The accessories part was I went back to school in 2011 when I had already been teaching for 10 years to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. I was like, you know what, I'm going to try, because I've always loved fashion, but my parents are from other countries, and that wasn't something that they really gave a high five to. It was like, be a doctor, be a nurse, teacher.
Wait, where are your parents from?
Panama and Guyana.
Wow.
I love them.
That's awesome. That
was also a journey.
I'm learning everything about you, and I'm like excited because usually the roles are reversed.
That's right.
In our conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, you're my life coach, so I don't really get to ask you questions.
Absolutely.
So I'm over here really like getting to know who you really are.
Because as a life coach, the focus is, the actual client is the designer, so to speak, right? So it's not about me at all. I just have presence and inquiries and help you see what you already know.
I love that, and it's weird, and I don't mean to say this like in a rude way. I also like when we get on these our sessions. I don't think I care about who you
should.
are.
Absolutely.
I'm like, gosh, I never asked her any questions. Like, I feel kind of bad.
Why?
But
no, it's a service that you are receiving, darling. You ain't got to ask me anything.
That's true.
I am supposed to be sitting there fully present in the moment.
Yeah.
Because all I'm doing is creatively partnering with you, because there's a saying that says you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So you all have your answers. Everybody has their answers to everything that they're dealing with. It's just our job to help you figure out another way to see it and pull it out.
Okay. Well, that leads me into my next question, which is life coaching. What is the difference between life coaching and therapy? Because I know a lot of people, even myself, have used them interchangeably. And according to you and the definition of what a life coach is, that is not the same thing as therapy.
No, the easiest way to put it is shout out to therapists, first of all, because they're amazing and I have one.
Okay.
It is therapists are focusing and unpacking a lot of the things that have happened. They try to help you dig down deep to unearth what's going on, and they focus a lot of time there so that you can move forward, where life coaches are really focusing on your goals. So there'll be some in sessions, there'll be some unearthing of things, right? But it won't. We don't stay there, and we can't stay there because I am not licensed.
Yeah.
Like that takes license and schooling.
You won't stay there with me.
No, I won't. No matter
you
what.
You say, Micah, when was the last time you had therapy?
Absolutely, because I respect therapists. Because people want to say that they have a life coach, and they're like, "Oh, I'm good. That's my therapist," right? Interchangeably, it's not, because there's no. I do not have the qualifications to accurately help you cope with all of the things that are potentially could come up. I don't have that. I didn't invest in that time in schooling. I am a certified life coach by International Coaching Federation, yes, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I would never take away anything from therapists, because if my therapist has gotten me through a lot, because there's things that we walk around with that we don't even know we're walking around with. And unfortunately in our culture, saying you have a life coach is like cool, right?
Yeah,
it's
like
cool.
bougie.
It's like very bougie, right? But saying you have a therapist means you're broken. That's not true. So I have referred people to therapists, to Real Talk Counseling, because it's just definitely, it's necessary. It's making sure that you are prepared for the potential storms that are coming.
Yeah, no, I feel that wholeheartedly, because I have had both, and it is definitely a difference in the two, but they've helped me out tremendously.
So what do you see? Are there benefits to having both? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, like you said, but so much that you allow me to unpack before you do whatever it is that you do when you're asking me questions, versus I feel like the therapist definitely dives deep. Like we go back to childhood. We go back to the moment that I felt this for the first time ever. We don't really do that. However, what we do with you that I don't do with the therapist is we talk about how to navigate day to day. And so for me, something that is always something I struggle with is, I guess, routine. Consistency in certain areas, as well as just learning how to juggle and navigate. And to me, when I hear those words, that doesn't really align with the therapy. That aligns to coaching. So it's like, I guess also thinking about like a basketball coach, you know, like they're there for that game. They're there for that season, but that coach isn't there for those lifelong things that you had to deal with and have to deal with in the future.
Yeah, it's goal oriented, right? Like in the beginning, I always ask you what.
Yes.
What do I ask you in the beginning?
You always ask me, what do I want to accomplish?
Okay, right at the end of the session.
What do I want to take away?
Something like that.
And when you ask me that, I don't even know what to say, because, well...
Do we end up staying there, though?
No.
Right. Because sometimes it doesn't even... You'll say you want one thing, and that's not really what ends up happening. But the more you talk, you're like, wait a minute. This is what I want. And at the end, we always say, what are you going to commit to, right?
Yeah.
Because it's about you making these steps to get to the goals that you have created for yourself.
No, that is so factual. But yeah, I wanted everybody to kind of know the difference, because like I said, I know the difference, but I cling on to, how I
am not a therapist.
Yes.
Y'all, therapists rock. #, they're awesome.
But that's really also like even with nurses versus a nurse practitioner, we are two different things. Like nurse practitioners can prescribe, nurses can't.
Oh.
So it's just like we're not the same. We can't treat the same. And granted, things are different from state to state with certain licenses, but that is how I guess one could look at it from that point of view. Two different things, but same industry.
Right. A life coach will recommend
health,
it's mental health, and a life coach will really refer you to a therapist. Therapists might not. I don't know if a therapist would refer you, but I don't see why not. If they realize that would be an asset to them.
Because do you feel like everybody needs life coaching?
That's a really good question. I don't know if everyone needs life coaching. I think it's like you need water, but you can pick whether it's Evian or Aquafina. Okay. You know what I mean? It is what...
I'm picking Evian.
It works for you. And having a coach of any kind is enhancing. Whether it's a business coach, it could be a health coach. Yeah. Because to navigate the world of what you want without assistance from others is just
so much harder.
It doesn't make sense.
And that's so true, even from a business point of view, especially as a nurse, entrepreneur, educator. Yes, you can start your own business without a coach. Yes, you can start your own business without a mentor. However, it is a lot harder. You're going to make way more mistakes without the guidance, without the structure of people who have already made those mistakes or have been in this industry to get to where you want to go to. So I guess that like I'm liking these comparisons, like so people can kind of shift their mindset on why it is. I'm not going to say like a necessity, but why it is necessary.
It's helpful. Yeah, right. And I mean, when you back in the day, I mean, I don't know, I'm older than you, so but when you used to go, but MapQuest, do you know MapQuest? Do you remember that? Okay,
yes.
I'm just saying.
We had to print out the MapQuest to get to places too.
Well, you had to like type it in and then print it out and take it with you in the car. But you did that because you knew you wanted to get to your goal. Now we use Waze, or Google Maps, but you know what your goal is, and you needed the assistance to help you get there. You would have eventually gotten there on your own, but it would have taken you 7 hours, like when it could take you 45 minutes, because you would have went all over the place. And so having a coach is just like having the necessary pieces that you need to get to where you want to go.
Yes.
And it's better. You build better together, man.
Yeah, I love it. So let's go ahead and hop into our topic of the day, which is the power of grace. So I really wanted to have this as our first episode of season 2 because when we're in the new year, so still in January, and I think a lot of times in the first of the month, we reflect on the past and how we can clean up for the next year. And what keeps coming to mind when I reflect on my last year is grace and how much I want to give myself more of that this year, because I think it will hopefully prevent a lot of the feelings, the emotions, the stress that I might have put on myself last year, if I could learn how to implement it consistently and really understand what that looks like. So I want to also share that with our listeners and also get your perspective on what grace is. So how would you define grace first off?
So grace is, to me, is space. It's giving yourself the space to mess up, to be excited, to give a high five to yourself, and also the space to do it well. So from a spiritual perspective, I believe in God. So whatever your spiritual life is.
Jesus loving.
Oh, okay. Amen. All right.
I'm just putting that out there.
You have to be respectful.
If you don't like it, this ain't for you.
All right. Okay. Well, yes. But, God gives us grace. He gives us grace, and we're not better than God. So if he gives us grace, how dare we not give ourselves grace? Yes. Like, come on, it's not it, and we do it all the time. We're very, very hard on ourselves, and grace is used when it talks about doing things nicely and smoothly. Like people say, somebody would they grace the runway, things like that. It's also doing something really kind to yourself or kind to others, a kind act. It's necessary. So for me, to my definition, grace I equate with space.
Okay. I like that. When I think of grace, like the first thing to me, like kind of what you said, forgiveness. So I think a lot of times we're really hard on ourselves and put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do things, or if we didn't do something that we, said we're going to do, or we didn't do it right, whatever it is, giving yourself grace in those moments allows you to accept whatever it is and walk away. So you don't carry that burden.
And that's that space.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, yeah.
Sometimes the word grace for people is like too touchy-feely and warm and cuddly. So to say space for those people that are more tactile or more black and white, so to speak, they might be able to understand that a little bit better.
Okay, cool. Well, my next question is, can you share a personal experience where giving yourself grace made a positive impact on your well-being?
Yeah. I would say the 18,001th time that I ended up in a relationship that I wasn't supposed to be in at the time, because in that time I was trying to make a home again. Because I had decided that I was going to make homes with people that, were amazing. They treated me really, really well, but it wasn't the right time. And so this 18,001 time that I found myself there
Not
again.
18. Look, what's your
Absolutely.
secret?
I mean,
I want 18,001 relationship.
It felt like it. I am 45 years old, and I would say since I was 18, I've been doing the same thing, which is why I say the 18,000th time. And really, it's, again, this last person gave me everything that I wanted, everything that I needed, or I thought I needed, I guess. And I was just like, what's up? But because it wasn't the right time for it, it did more damage. So this time I had to be like, okay, Jay, it's time. Like, you see what this is. You keep going for the same things. Yes, you did it again. Yes, you did it when you was 18 and now you did it at 45. It's okay, because you can move on. One of the things that I will be sharing probably later is that I believe is that I'm not dead yet. That's how I remember.
Talk about that.
Because if I'm not dead, I got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not dead, I have an opportunity to do better within that same second. But we don't recognize that because we're so busy putting on our gloves and punching ourselves for saying the things that we said or doing the same thing again over and over and over again. So what? Like, yes, you recognize it, you look it in the face, and then you take the gloves off, and then you say, all right, this next moment, it is 5:30, 5:31, I got a new chance.
Yeah.
So that, I would say that's the last time, because again, it was an amazing situation. I felt the love, I felt all the awesome feels, but it wasn't the right time. And it's like, I'm never going to see what God has for me, for Janelle, if I don't allow myself to follow in those footsteps that he set. And that takes grace for myself.
Yeah. And I like that because, especially that you can even say that there were some positive things about it. Because I think sometimes we get so stuck on like, oh, I should never did that. But I think it's good that you were in that situation. That you did go through like the ups and downs, because that recreated a new side of you and showed a new side of you. And that's what I also have, like, I feel like experienced in my ways grace has, impacted my life. I think for me, I had to learn how to give myself grace after, I guess, creating these expectations from people who give you the same result. And so what do they call that? Insanity, right? So I had to give myself grace for being insane.
Yikes.
But no, seriously, I think, you have to go through those moments to realize like, okay, this was good for that season, and like, let's move on to see what we can create and rebirth in the next.
So people say that that's insanity, but was it insanity for you, or was that just a definition you clung on to?
Just going by textbook.
Okay.
That's what it says. I don't feel like I am insane or was insane for having expectations for people, because I think a lot of times we just expect us out of people, which sometimes people can look at that as insane, but it's just like, that's, I think sometimes just having a good heart posture, that's just naturally what, like, if I open the door for the person in front of me and then like we're reversed, I'm expecting them to open the door behind,
Why?
Because I did it. Yeah. So do you feel like that's wrong expectation to have?
No. I mean, but I want to know more about, if you open the door for someone, why you expect them to open it for you. Like, besides, you said because you did it for them.
Yeah, I think it's just, for me, a natural instinct.
Well, what does it say about them if they don't open the door for you?
I mean, my first thought is like rude. However, that doesn't necessarily mean rude. It means that they might have been in a rush or they didn't even see me. So, you never know what someone else has going on with themselves as to why they might respond a certain way. But as a, just a natural reaction, that is how, I would feel sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We're back in our sessions. All right. So just want to, continue to talk about this whole word of grace. What strategies have you used or practiced to cultivate self-compassion through challenging times?
So I just mentioned one of my secrets. I'm not dead yet. And it makes me chuckle every minute, every time I say it, and that helps, right? So I'm really serious about that. That's one of the major ones that I say to myself when I find myself, before now, I find myself making a phone call I don't need to make, or I find myself not keeping the promises to myself of what I said I was going to do. So I remind myself that I'm not dead yet. That's one. I remind myself that God gives me grace. And I am not even in the space to be like, yo, I'm better than you. No, not at all. That's not a good idea. So I remind myself of that. I also do one kind word a day.
Oh, okay.
And what that means is not to someone else, to yourself. What do you do? If at the end of my day, I'm like, what did I do today that I'm proud of?
Okay.
It might be that I didn't cuss somebody out because they jumped in front of me and almost banged up the car and themselves.
And do you write it down, or you just mentally?
I say it because I don't write it down because I'm not always near my notebook when I need to do it. So it's just, I remind myself every day. There has to be, even on the worst days, somebody could be sick, someone could be pass away. There has to be something that day that you're proud of, and that becomes a routine. The other thing that I would say is love the human that you see. That means we're complex human beings. So you allow yourself to love who you are right now and still want to change some things. Perfect example, today I was talking to my best friend about losing weight. And I told her, I was like, I lost 4 pounds. And she was like, yeah, I gained them. So you lost 4 pounds and I gained your 4 pounds. And somehow we ended up talking about my shaky arms. I don't remember how that happened, but I was like, okay. And I was just like, yeah, true. And I love them. And in my mind, and she recognized she's my best friend, I was so excited that I said I loved them and I meant it. Like 5 years ago, good. I'd have been like, don't make fun of me. Yeah. But now it's just like, no, those are my arms, but I'm also working on them. And I'm not but and. So it's an and both situation. I am working on them. And it's okay that right now they're shaky. It's fine. Because when you recognize that who you are is who you are, things that people say, it bounces off you. And not sometimes, depending on who it is, it hurts. And that's okay for it to hurt. But it doesn't have to get at the core of who you are. So I would say, remember that you're not dead, so you have time to change and you have time for grace. Also, that you accept the human that you are. In the mirror, look in the mirror and recognize. And you don't have to do, hi, I'm Janelle, like all the extra things. Just be real with yourself. Yo, I like that. I like your boobs. I don't like your thighs, like whatever. But the bottom line is I have control of all of that. And if I really, really want to do it, stop eating the Cheetos. Like, you know what I mean? Make a decision to make that happen.
Like, you know what it is.
You know what it is, right? Yeah. You know what it is. But the grace to be able to say, I love you in your entirety, that helps. And the one kind word a day, absolutely. So those are some of the things. I have 7 things, but those are some of the things.
I'm taking notes. But no, it's crazy. The first thing you said, like, I'm not dead. I was having a conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago about some things that I was going through and how it was just like mind blowing to me how I got through. Because I was just like, wow, how did this happen to me? And like I don't even know how to put into words what happened, but it was so miraculous that I had to share. And when I shared it with him, he was just like, you need to tell somebody else about this. You need to talk about this, because why are you still and I was like, well, I don't want to talk about it until it's over, until I'm at the end of it or close to the end, so I can really tell my story. He was like, is tomorrow a promise? Like, do you know for sure you'll be here tomorrow? So why not go ahead and share the message today? Also, not on top of what he's saying, you don't know that what you're going through right now will be a saving grace for someone else. So part of the thing that people always tell me that I say things that people wouldn't necessarily say. My personal platform for me or mission is to like obliterate shame. It is very important for me because definition.
When I said it, I was like, "Oh man!" So obliterate means to basically break apart.
All the listeners might not know what it is.
To break apart. So if you think about what a wrecking ball does to a building, it obliterates the building. So that is, for me, shame has held me back. It's held generations back. It's held my family back in certain areas. It's held my mom back. It's a crippler. Like, it's like if you think about what got with the animal traps, and how they like cling, the teeth clench and they can't get out. There's no way for you to move forward in the purpose that God has for you if you're riddled with shame. And if God has forgiven you because you've repented, you've said, you know what, God, this is me. You talk in your voice, however you talk to God. Sometimes I'll be like, God, for real? However you speak, that's how you speak.
Somebody was just talking to my friend, because I saw something on Instagram, like some guy accidentally called God Bay in his conversation. I was like, what? I can see bruh.
Right, but you know what? Whatever works. Like, as long as you are talking to God. That's all that matters. And so, oh no,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. This is what happens to me. So what was I saying?
You were saying about clenching.
Yes, the animal. Okay. The shame. And I love animals, so it's not like a bad thing. I love animals. But that's what happens. I hate them, of course, but that's what happens. And so shame literally grabs you at your ankles like shackles.
And I've been grabbing my ankle.
You know what I mean? Because and you can feel it. Because if you are concerned about something that you did 15 years ago, how in the hell are you supposed to be focused on where you're going? There's no way. You can't have vision because it's arresting your vision. Like, you can't see tomorrow.
Arresting your vision. I like that.
You can't. It's just it. And so because there's so many things that I have been afraid to say or people have made fun of, that I'm just like, you know what? If I tell you, you can't hold me to it. Your face might turn white, the things that come out of my mouth, and that's okay. But the bottom line is, you at this moment may be like, you know what? If she could say it, I might not be able to say it to her or anyone else that's in this room, but I can tell my husband that I'm feeling this way. I can tell my wife I'm feeling this way. I can tell my dog. I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter, right? But you get it out so you can move forward.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important.
Yeah. And that's, a part of me when they said that, and just even listening to you, I'm just like, wow. That was really like the whole point of Be Well and Exhale too, this podcast, this platform, because I'm like, it's no way all these things have been happening in my life and I can't, or not can't, but I'm just keeping it to myself. And that's why we continued season 2, because I was like, oh my gosh, in the status that not status, but the caption that I wrote to like introduce everybody, like we're getting ready for season 2, I mentioned like, I had so much on my plate last year, and I was like, I'm not, why would I even do a podcast? I have too many things, but it's just like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop, so I had to do it. And then, you fast forward to January 2024, and I'm just like, no way I'm going to do a second season because all the things that's on my plate, but I can't, I'm dreaming about it. I can't, so it's like, clearly it's a message that has to get out. And, when I was debating about that whole like, oh, let me wait till I'm finished or what I think is finished with this whole situation that I'm in, to keep it to myself, it's just like, yeah, why would I keep it to myself? Because that's contradicting the whole purpose of this platform. Not to necessarily expose, but to give some narration into like what happened and how did I get here and where do I see myself going from what I can see, because we are not in control. So I think I really love those steps. So you said you're not dead. The second one was, gosh, I can forget that quick.
Love your whole human. Like, love the human that you see. And a word a day.
And then a word a day. I love the word a day. I was, that's something that I want to start doing because every day it's just like a tad bit overwhelming. Some days are not as, others, but it's always some type of action in my day. And I have lately been trying to mentally like, okay, let's reflect. What really great thing happened today, regardless of what you might not have seen, as planned. So.
I want to add one more thing, because I said I had 7, but I'm going to add one more thing that I think is important. Taking your gloves off, because we will punch ourselves to death. Like if I am in the business world, if you are in charge of ordering lunches for a conference and you miscount, you're going to you're going to try so hard to be like, oh my God, either I'm going to go out and get food or I'm going to pray somebody's fasting because I didn't order enough food. You know what I mean? And in that space, you're going to be, Janelle, why didn't you just do it? Why didn't you do it again? No, you didn't. It's taken care of. Like, let's move on. You know what I mean? So you have to take the gloves off and stop fighting yourself. You wouldn't be fighting somebody else. So if you made a mistake, you accept the mistake and you move on. And you give yourself space to feel the feels and move. You got to feel the feels. Holding on to the feels makes you emotionally constipated. It's not fun.
Ooh, I like that.
It's not okay. And there's a lot of us walking
Look,
around emotionally
like
constipated.
a picture of like somebody just popped in my
absolutely.
head.
But you imagine when people spaz out,
Yeah.
like, yes, it could be something happening mentally, but it's also because if you are an emotional person or a person that's in touch with their emotions and the other person does not, and they're just like, well, what are you crying for? Or why do you always cry? Or why do you always you're so touchy? No, you're not touchy. Get it together. Like, how you feel. When I ask you that question, do you feel nervous? Oh, that's probably because you don't express how you feel. That's why you got a problem with being emotional, because I'm in touch with my emotions. So, like, we got to take the gloves off.
Yeah, I like that. And I think a lot of times we try and avoid confrontation with others and ourselves.
That second part.
Yeah. Like others, of course, but like we don't realize how much we try and avoid our own issues.
How do you feel about confrontation with yourself?
I feel like I can sometimes be overly confrontational with myself.
Okay.
To the point where I don't give myself grace. So, and when I say, and maybe, I don't know, we're thinking of it two different things, but when I think of confrontation with myself, I think of calling myself out, but at the same time, it can easily lead into beating myself up.
Yeah, that's different.
So it's two different things, but I see both sides of what you, I can't even talk. In both ways that people could see that perspective.
Yeah, confrontation is good, right? Confrontation is good. It's the fighting part, you know. But confronting yourself takes you being 100% honest with yourself. The bottom line is, you ask yourself, do you want to be well? And if the answer is you want to be well, then you got to take the steps to get there. And that takes being honest.
Yeah. So I think we really covered the power of grace.
Okay.
And what that looks like for you, what it looks like for me. Because it could look like different things.
Absolutely.
For, everybody. Like we talked about it from a godly point of view, like how he gives us grace, and what it looks like for us to give ourselves grace. As far as going into the new year.
Can I say one more thing about grace?
Oh, yeah.
It takes courage. Like, having grace for yourself and giving yourself grace is not easy, or everybody would be doing it. It takes courage to acknowledge and face yourself and say, you know what, I am being really hard on myself right now, and I need to give it a rest. Let me think of one thing that I did well. So don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't want to mislead anyone. Having grace for yourself, because we're taught culturally to give grace to other people. God gives it to us, we give it to his people. But giving it to yourself is not an easy feat. So it does take courage. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Well, as far as like, this being the new year and, how do you feel like you will, I don't want to say give yourself grace this year because we've kind of, but what are some things I feel like that you want to implement this year that maybe you neglected last year?
Lord have mercy. When I tell you last year in comparison to these weeks in January, I am finally seeing who God has made me to be.
Word.
It is gangster. Like, it really, really, really is. And so I wake up, I would say, I fully surrendered. And it's not like as West Indians say, it's not a poppy show. Well,
I don't even know.
Meaning, like, it's not a joke.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it, but I'm like,
It's not. I surrender every day, because we're talking about somebody that woke up and manipulated, because I've been given powers. We all have powers. We all have the ability to do things. And I used to say, and I joke about it before, that I use my powers for bad. Meaning, like, I have the ability to make authentic connections with people. But because of my voids and my insecurities, I use those connections to create relationships that I wasn't supposed to be in. So now that I recognize that, and I know that I fully surrender, surrendering is what I'm doing 2024. And with that complete surrendering that I have to do every morning, like, I got to actually say it out my mouth, God, thank you for waking me up, and I surrendered today, because I've been taking the reins for, let's say, since I was 20 to 45. It's before that, but let's just say that. And so now 2024 is about to be off the chain, and that doesn't mean it's going to be free of craziness. I might lose someone. I might lose a couple of people. People might pass away. But all through that, when I keep my foundation where it's supposed to be, and that's in God, that I know that I'll be able to deal with those things in a better way. Not drinking, not having sex, which are the ways that I used to do it. Not smoking weed, like not doing the things that I used to do before that came so easily. Because people would see me and they're like, oh, she got it together. She's amazing. Yeah. And then I'm going to drink my Stoli when I get in the crib, or I'm going to smoke, you know what I mean? Because, or I'm going to call somebody and I'm going to have sex, because that was the way I sexualize a lot of things. So now being at this space, it's just like, yo, I don't need that, because whoever it's going to be, it's going to be off the chain.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I felt that. Like, I'm just like, wow. Because, again, you are my life coach. So I don't see this side. And it makes me feel more human talking to you. Because, I mean, we talk. Yeah. And, I literally deal with those same things. Like, I would hide myself into drinking, being, having sex.
Okay, it's all right.
It's not a lot, but just having that urge and those things for the people that I didn't need to, and then also just dabbling into
what did you why the not a lot?
Wait, like saying
just now,
because I really didn't have a lot of sex. Okay, I truly didn't.
Okay, all right.
But it was a form of coping for me, for years, like before, relationships. I mean, as early as high school, I lost my virginity, at a very early age. Like extremely early, and that just made me very, I feel like, promiscuous. Throughout my young adulthood into, young adulthood as in teenage years, slow down in college, all those things. But I just know that was a form of an escape for me because of the things that I did lack growing up. And it's not like, a daddy issue situation. It's a lot of things. It's not just one thing. But that was a defense mechanism, coping mechanism for me that sometimes did bleed into my adulthood.
Absolutely.
And so when I realized last year was a very, very unbelievably rough year for me. I don't remember a time that was much harder than that before. 2020 was rough, but that was, now we're in 2023, and that was like, it tried to take me out, and so I had to come to God and say, hey, God, like, what is it? Like, I'm tired of feeling like this. I know like the war isn't just going to stop because I'm tired of feeling like this, but how do I come equipped? And so I listened to him, and I had to let go of some things and decrease the alcohol intake. I had to decrease the, desires to stop drowning, what I'm really feeling internally. And when I did that, it felt like I surrendered and I saw things clearly. I saw myself. I felt more in control. And, things still continue to happen, but I was able to really manage it. And even like you told me personally in one of my sessions, like, you are a whole nother person from when we started. Like, when did we start?
2 years ago?
Yeah. So you even realize that, my friends even realize that, people that know like my day to day, they're just like, wow, like, you have really changed. And it inspires me to keep going, because life has not got off my neck.
It's not. Like, it's not going to. I mean, and even from a Christian standpoint, it's never going to get off your neck. You're either going through something or about to go through something, or just have gotten through something. Yes. Like, that's just being. People are like, well, you Christian, everything's supposed to be great for you. Negative. That just means I can deal. I can deal with it in a way that I know is never going to waver. God is never going to leave me. Like, it's never going to happen no matter what you do. And that's also the connection with shame for me and worthiness. So I've also dedicated. So surrender is one thing for 2024, and building on my worthiness, because the reason why I was promiscuous, the reason why I gave away myself, even emotionally, to people was because I didn't think I was going to get any better. And people would be like, Jay, you got a master's, you got this, you you got that, all these things. And like, why, how could you not feel that way? But when you grow up in a space where you didn't feel validated, then you think, the first time I remember getting a compliment was when my elementary school boyfriend kissed me behind his couch. And he was like, you must have done this before. And I was like, yup. No, I had not. But from that moment on, it was like, boom, that's your go-to. That's what you do. You kiss well. Like, and then
Like
that
that
led
was
to
like,
all other
in a
things.
sense, your superpower.
That was my superpower that I knew. And then it was like, you know, I would, and simultaneously, it was like, you got bedroom eyes. Like, everybody's like, oh, your eyes are talking to me. And I'm like, what? But that
now
was
that you
always,
say it.
and that was always a thing. And people would blame me. So there was
Yeah.
a portion of my life that I wore shades. Because I felt like as soon as people saw my eyes, they knew that I wanted to sleep with them. And it wasn't that I really liked them. It was just what I thought I was supposed to do. I gave off sexual energy to everyone because that's what I thought it was supposed to be. Not that I'm royalty. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, everybody else is royalty. My friends, the business owners, they're royalty, not me. And so this 2024, I'm just like, no, you're really good at this. And even when you're not good at it, you give yourself grace to practice. We don't expect a 6-year-old to learn how to, no, a little bit younger than that, but we don't expect a child to learn a new skill immediately. We're like, it's okay, you can try again. Well, let's try doing it another way. But when you start doing something new, we're like, we didn't get it the first time. What?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
That's grace.
Right? That's
Yeah.
not, and that's giving yourself grace. Like, that expectation is unrealistic. There's no way that you're just gonna do something new, do it the first time, and not make any sense.
No, that's cool. And like that is just, it's just so beautiful because that whole surrender piece and the worthiness, it just all ties into each other because it just, for me, I think we talked about this before, the confidence.
Yes.
That I had.
Awesome. I'm sorry, just clap.
Yes, no, that was really what I felt when I started to see my worth. I felt invincible.
Why don't you explain what that means?
So for me, that means that once I peeled back the layers, almost like when you said, you know, if you're going to say this about me, I already know this about me. So because I'm saying it, because I'm owning it, it doesn't hurt. And so that's how I feel with my confidence. Like, you can call me whatever. I know who I am. I know whose I am. And that's basically what happened to me last year. Because like, you know, I am a fun person. I like to go out. I like to have a good time with my friends, with my son, whatever it may be. But sometimes in others' eyes, I'm like, oh, she goes out too much. She does this. She does that. But y'all don't know, one, how hard I work and I deserve this. You know, you don't see everything. You see what I give you. And that's, you know, and that's on me to give these type of interpretations. However, I just know that what God has put into me, it's like everything rolls off. And so it's just like, you know, last week was the most shocking thing that has happened to me in a long time. And I didn't sit in it. And last year I would have sat in it and I would have made it break me down. I would have been, woe is me, like, feel bad for me. I'm such a victim in this situation. But I laughed at it. Oh, we about to flip this situation. you about to run me my coin. So it's just, you know, but it's that confidence talking. Like, I wasn't always feeling like that. I wanted to be the quietest one in the room. Now I want, like, no, ask me. Ask me how I got here. Ask me why I'm standing right here.
How does that feel?
It feels great. Like, gosh, the thing that just came to my mind, now I got to say it out loud. But you know the thing that they say, BDE, big dick energy? Yeah. That's how I be feeling now.
Okay.
That's how I feel. And I know it's like weird to say these things with, you know, confidence and stuff. I mean, forgive me, but it's just how I feel. Like,
God knows you.
That's
like,
how, like, my confidence has changed over, to me, such a short period of time. Again, if you look at where I was just 8 months ago. So yeah, and I think I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't surrender, if I didn't give myself grace, if I didn't see my worth. And granted, this is just the beginning. Like, so just imagine what that confidence is going to look like at the end of 2024.
It's important to have that, but there's also, like, for the people that are going to watch this, to know that you still have to maintain humility. right? Like confidence, which is her word that she's created, and I was super excited when she said it, is also confidence in God. Right, so it's the confidence he gives you and you have, but it's also the confidence in him, so that it's all him. For example, I think this morning I read Proverbs, and it had to do with basically you can prepare your horse, but God brings you through the battle. So like you can have all the things that you need, but God is going to cross that line. He's going to cross that line with you. He's going to get you there. So, and it's not going to be easy. If there's anything that you take from this podcast session right now, or whatever it's called, podcast, session, whatever, it is that none of this is easy.
No.
But it is very, 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 very worth it. Like if you can be where I was, I mean, talking where, I was at a party with a guy, I left and we went to his office at like 3 a.m. and we had sex. And after that, he left me on the train station in New York. Like it was, when you can be in that space that you would do something like that as a grown adult, because you don't think you're worthy, to this space to be like, really, I'm not even thinking about a partner. All I'm thinking about is doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And there's going to be days where I'm like, I need to make a phone call. And then it's like, what do you do? What are your tools? Put on YouTube, put on TD Jakes, put on Lisa Nichols, put on Uncle Les Brown. Ooh. Do whatever it is that you need to do to get past that moment, because it's not going to last forever.
And what we talked about.
Grace.
And what we talked about was I'm just bringing it back to a session. I just wish our sessions were recorded.
Nope, not allowed. Unless you wanted them to be.
No,
yeah.
absolutely not. But it was back in December or November, one of our sessions, when you said you was like itching and stuff, and not even from like sexual, but just I'm saying for me, it just like if I'm wanting to go to retaliate and go back to an old way, the way that I created a handbook for myself. Did I call it a Micah handbook?
The Micah handbook.
Manual.
Micah manual.
Micah manual.
Yes.
So in the Micah manual,
yes,
I was able to write down, okay, when I'm feeling this, go to this. When I am, like, say, if I am, wanting to respond a paragraph, message,
or negatively,
yes. What to do? What do I need to this is my manual. That's real. And so my manual is on my phone and it's in a book. So if I don't have the book with me, it's just a resource. So it's almost like when we when you get into trouble in school, the teacher says manual and handbook section 1.05, whatever, like this is what you do. So I had to create that structure in my life, because my life, as we talked about, is not have as much structure as I would like. It's structured in a lot of areas, but in certain areas I need it to be a little bit more clear. And so for me, that is something that helps me to get through whatever it is that I want to revert back to.
And there's two things. One, that manual, because you can have the change that you want to create, you want the change you want to do. But if you don't have something in place for when inevitably you go back to what you're comfortable, you're going to fall, right? Like you got to have, if you've been doing something for 60% of the time, or I'm sorry, for 80% of the time, and then 20% you've been doing something, you want to do something different, 80% is the larger amount, right? So that is what's muscle memory for you, or that activity that you do when your go-to. So if you don't have something to fall back on or something to replace that with, you're setting yourself for failure. And there was another thing that I wanted to say that I don't remember.
It was about manual, maybe. I'm trying to throw some words.
I know, right? No, it's gone. Hopefully it'll come back.
Yeah, but no, I think that that was this was really good. This is really good. It was something else that I also had to say when you were talking, and I didn't think about it. But that's maybe for the next episode.
Okay.
But I wanted to just kind of close with wanting to know, how do you be well and exhale?
I practice being well and exhaling by being in the moment, mindfulness, like allowing myself to actually be in that moment. Like the other day, I was supposed to do some work, but I ended up sitting at Starbucks and just staring out of the window in the sun. Like I am intentionally pressing pause. Because it has to happen. So it's not that, oh, I get facials, I go get my nails done, I do whatever, because all of that stuff, you're not always going to have that. There may be a real lean week as a business owner, and you can't do that. So what are you going to fall back on? So your be well is whatever it is that my be well is what I need to do in that moment. Only thing I have control over that no one can take from me is me and my time. So my way of being well is hitting pause whenever I need it. Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
The schedule. You said that you wanted structure. So a lot of times too, we have to revisit what we think we want, right? Because the structure might come from what we've seen others do or what our family members do or whatever the case. But do we really want it for ourselves? Like I always joke, like, do I really like chicken, or does everybody in my family just eat chicken? So like revisiting the goals that you have, and are they your goals or are they something that you've gotten from somewhere else? So maybe the structure that you want, potentially you might already have it, and the structure that you're trying to get to is really not the structure that you need. It's just something an idea that you've had in the ether about how much structure a businesswoman should have, right? But is it what Micah wants? So that's like a question for you to think about. Like the structure that you're aiming for, is it really something that you necessarily need in this season? Because things are going to change.
Yeah.
So for right now in this season, you may have all the structure that you need, but then the next season, then you'll need more and be in a better place for it. So again, the grace.
I like that. We're gonna have to like dive deeper into that in our next session, because I'm just like, ooh, I don't need structure. Like, let's go. But no, I feel you, because a lot of times, even in business, of course, like, we compare ourselves to our colleagues and, people in the industry.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't think I can see myself doing it the way they do it.
Right.
And is it another option, for me to do it this way and I still be just as successful as I want to be successful?
I've had to make my own lane. Who has a company, and in that same company, they're a certified life coach and an accessory designer.
Yeah.
Right? And so long people are like, they got to be separate. And that's too much. I tried it.
Yeah.
But it's too much. And God didn't make me separate. So I have had to create my own lane. When you see me at a table or exhibiting, I'm selling my accessories, I'm still having conversations. I'm having conversations because every person that I speak to, I'm speaking into them, because that's what's also been poured into me.
Yeah.
So that is an opportunity. So I've coined myself the artisan speaker, because that's what I am. Like Patchwork takes pieces that are broken and puts them together to create something beautiful. Or they're whole by themselves, but together it's more spectacular. It's life is not a straight route. Yeah. And we have to be forgiving and allow ourselves to figure that out. And if it needs to double back, that's okay. Go back around to wherever you believe you need to be. So yeah.
This was beautiful. Yay. I want to talk some more, but it's like in doses. Our next topic.
Right.
But no,
absolutely.
This is great, and I am so happy that you got on the seat in the chair with me, because this is just like, oh, I know another side. Granted, I still probably will be very selfish in my sessions,
as you should be.
But it is nice to know, I guess, like, you're human.
Oh yeah.
Because when you're younger and like say you see your teacher out like hanging out at
like when you saw me at the grocery
store
and you were like, hi.
I know. Oh my God. I was just like, ooh, I'm in trouble. And I had a bottle of wine.
She wasn't in trouble. Oh my God, not at all.
I was actually bringing it to a friend, but
it doesn't matter.
I was like, hold on. That sound kind of, but no, yeah, that's how I felt, when I saw you, for sure. So it's nice to see this side.
Yeah,
of
I'm 100%
computer. Like, you're real.
I'm real. I am real. 100% real, and I'm super
and
honest.
Keep it real.
Oh yes.
I love that.
Oh yes. I don't have
that.
a choice.
This might have been the spiciest episode so far.
Oh, and I was playing it real Manila, so that's great.
It's like, no, that's great. No, I love it. I love that you also, brought things out of me, because, like I said, I know eventually I will get there. I want to tell, my story again, to continue to help people, but it helps when you have people on the couch to bring those scenarios and situations out to be that voice for the next person. So
absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming and talking to me, and I will be booking my session. Actually, I think I already have
you
one
did
scheduled.
You have one for this week. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Pre-booked.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to Be Well and Exhale, and we will catch you on the next episode. Oh, sorry. How can they find you?
Okay, on all social media, The Patchwork Queen Inc. and the website patchworkqueen.com. You can click on luxury leather. You can click on life coaching services and book your session. And specifically for Be Well, right?
And
Be Well and
exhale.
Exhale. Yes, I'm like, I like Be Well. I don't know why. Okay,
You don't want to let it go.
right. Be Well and Exhale. I am having a special promotion for a session, so you'll be able to click that on the website too.
Awesome. And I'm telling y'all, she is the truth and much needed necessity for my life, for me to navigate. Because again, it's tough out here.
I appreciate that, because that means I'm living on purpose and I'm being obedient.
Yeah,
That's it.
No,
I just want to be obedient.
It really, like you are.
No,
You really are. So thank you.
All right, we'll be here all night, right?
Yeah.
Just like thank you. No, thank you.
All right, no, for real.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.